Welcome to the American Business Podcast. I'm Kevin Deveci, your host. I'm welcoming you episode 128. We are in season 5 in the American Business Podcast, and the American Business Podcast is the voice of American business. Quote of the day: as you know, we have a great partnership with missionstatements.com, and here is the quote of the day. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Great. Well, we have a special guest today. Let me invite our guest to our virtual stage, and let's get the conversation started. Hello, Javier. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you for having me and for this opportunity.
Of course, it's my pleasure. How are you? How is your week going so far?
Well, very good. Very happy and looking forward to this conversation actually for several days.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Well, so we are in the beginning of the new year, 2026. How was 2025 for you? Any reflections on the previous year and any expectations from the new year?
Yeah, well, the last year was very hectic, but at the same time with a lot of learning, technology changes, everything is going pretty fast, and but with good results. And the expectation for this year, it's very hectic as well, and trying to to oversee if it's going to be as good or better than last year. Hopefully better.
Hopefully better. Yes. Let's keep the hopes high. Let's stay positive and let's work for it. Let's see how it's going to be. Hopefully it's going to be a great year, 2026.
Agree.
Okay, well, let's get started. As a start, would you please introduce yourself to our audience and to our listeners?
Yes, I'm Javier Marin. I'm I'm a media entrepreneur and also an author of the book Life from America: How Latino TV Conquered the United States. I live in the state of Maine. My business are in Boston and Washington, D.C., mainly Spanish media. And now under my second generation, the day to day, I'm an executive chairman, so I'm still have a voice in the business. So that's in a nutshell what I have 2 sons and my wife, and we live hour and a half up north from Boston. Even though it's a different state, we're still close to Massachusetts.
That's great. Well, let's talk about your book a little bit. Do you have your book in hand? Maybe you can show it to our audience.
Always.
All right. You. Well, looks like you have the Spanish version, but guess what? I have the English version, so I can show the cover to our audience, so they can see it at the same time. It's pretty cool. Yeah. So tell us about your book a little bit, if that's okay. Can you tell us about your book a little bit?
Yes. Life from America is basically the history of the largest Hispanic media conglomerate in the United States, which is Univision. It's a fascinating story that starts in the 1960s. But it's not just a story of a company. It's and a big business. It's also the story of how the Spanish language has been used in the United States. In the 1960s, the community was about 3.5 million. Right now, 61.2 million. And this book tells the story on how the business of media. Remember that in the 60s and the 70s, there were only three big networks, and now how these entrepreneurs build the fourth networks in the nose of people like Rupert Murdoch or Ted Turner, who were just starting their um, their ventures in cable TV. So it's a very resilient story of how a conglomerate grew from a small the TV station to a big network and multi-billion-dollar company. How a second language in this country became a big business compared with any other country in the world. So it's a fascinating business story, history of an immigrant enclave in the United States, and also a history of a country that has embraced the language as part of the language of Spanish as part of the day to day in the U.S. as well.
Well, let's learn more about you, if that's okay. Would you please tell us about your career journey? How did you get started? How your career journey has unfolded over the years?
Yes, I'm an immigrant from Caracas, Venezuela. I came to the U.S. 26 years ago when a dictatorship was starting to get installed, and I was a media owner in my country. And one of the first thing autocrats try to do is always censor the news media, and so the business was affected a little bit. But I decided to leave temporarily. I left my business and did do my MBA in the U.S. and stayed 2 or 3 years because I thought the dictatorship was not going to last that long. Well, we all know what happened in the country. So I came with my wife and my two little kids, and we had a wonderful life in Massachusetts for 20 years. Um, and after finishing my MBA, I decided to start my own business. It was very difficult for a Spanish speaker to cross over into the English media. Still very difficult. It's a very difficult industry. If English is not your native language, it's your accent, etc. There's still a lot of there was much more difficulties in the past. So I decided to start my own Spanish newspaper in Massachusetts. There was already a good amount of Spanish speakers in the state, and there was not a like a real. Most of the papers in Spanish were mom and pop companies, and I decided to build with a business model of real Spanish. His real media, official institutional advertisers, and real journalism, and it was very successful from day one. It was very well received. I also had some partnership with the local English mainstream media, and always learning the history of Univision because starting my own Spanish media, I decided to study who was the most successful in the Spanish media in the U.S., and that was Univision, and that's how I became very familiar with what ended up being the book that I published. So that's me. Very simple life of Spanish owned media. Of course, simple life, a very difficult business journey because as we all know, what happened what is happening still since internet came into us, the old print business media. What happened to the business media? But the passion and also the business opportunity well taken when changes like that happen made me survive those difficult times, and now the survivors are, let's say, with a few ones in the Spanish speaking market in the media business are having a much better at least footprint of business than those crazy times of early 2000s when the digitalization of the content became so big, and the commoditization of news also um, became very difficult to tackle. And but the Spanish speaking is different than the English speaking news media. So we had a little more time to explore different alternatives. So that has been my life as an entrepreneur. I also, dedicated a lot of time to my family. Being an immigrant, you don't have that much help around the family, so you have to dedicate a lot of time to it. Um, so I consider myself very lucky in terms of the life, my family, and also the impact of the business in the community has been an important part for my business career. The impact in the community of the content of my media outlets. And then in 2016, I had the opportunity to purchase the Spanish newspaper that was owned by the Washington Post. Once Jeff Bezos bought the Washington Post, I was able to do a transaction with his group and bought the Spanish paper, maintaining a good partnership with the Washington Post. Of course, they are giants and we're very small. So that transaction of me, the small one, buying the huge one, was a very interesting transaction too.
Yeah, sounds like quite an experience.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's talk about the state of media industry, if that's okay. Can you tell us about the media industry in general? Share some of your insights for our viewers and listeners to learn from you.
Yes. The Spanish is quite as different, but let's say it's the same dilemmas and the same changes. It came from a very traditional decades of stable, very profitable, and powerful sector to be in, into a very competitive, very business changing. Remember, social media just started in 2007. The Twitter and the Facebooks and the of the world. So that arrival also changed the business big time, and still it is. Like for example, right now, the media that you use, the podcast, is just a 5 year industry, let's call it, a sector, and that is very important, extremely important right now
Yes.
as a media outlet. But as you know, this is also changing, so we don't know what the podcast of the future will be.
Hmm.
So the same thing is in our heads since early in 2000s when the internet came into our business life. Remember that when digitalization of the information came,
Hmm.
um, there was a big disruption, and so that change, we have been used to, the survivors. We have been used to live with drastic changes like this. So my diagnosis of what's happening right now is a very short term changes happening all the time. So the product development, it's 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 key in the media industry, something that wasn't before.
Hmm.
So even though if you feel comfortable because YouTube is treating you well, you should always think that maybe next year YouTube is not going to treat you well, and you have to find another platform to be in. So that's what happened
Good point.
to us. I come from a typical traditional newspaper that I was used to sell. 20% of my income in the early 2000s was cash from classifieds. Classifieds, then Craigslist came into our life, was selling classified for free, and that 20% was gone in 2 years. So we
Wow.
have to find a way to replace that type of magic income. So we have to do magic in order to replace that. Imagine 20% of your cash flow just that you are used to have for years
That is huge.
is,
Yes.
is gone. So that type of I'm just telling those examples because uh, when you ask me what's the situation right now of media, you have to be ready to big changes, and I think big changes are coming with AI and faster.
Any predictions about the future of podcast?
the platforms. I think predictions is how the platforms will treat you. If you are not in Substack right now, in the new podcast format that they are trying to recreate, at least you should try it. I'm not promoting Substack. I'm just saying
Okay.
the new platforms all the time coming.
Hmm.
And if you find a way to monetize, don't think that monetization is going to last forever. Um, because I think that applies to all the businesses. Actually, all the industries are ever changing in terms of
Mhm.
monetization. So my prediction with podcast is there will be changes definitely on formats and platforms, and we just have to be aware and
That's a
alert.
great point. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Um, okay, well, let's talk about how to survive crisis and uncertainty in business. Based on your professional experience, how to survive crisis and uncertainty in business?
Well, depends. If you're talking about me, which is I am a long-term, old-school business. So I'm not an investor looking for an exit. Actually, my second generation took over the day-to-day
Hmm.
of my operation. That was my dream. Um, uh, Even though I had investors in the past, even though I had even an opportunity to sell in the past, so it all depends on your philosophy of life. And if you are a world traveler and you want to live in different places, then it's a different situation. If you are a unicorn builder, a serial entrepreneur, that's a different situation. My journey has been very we can call it boring because always I love my news media industry, the impact in the community, and I had very tough times where there was you know big layoff or changing on the technology that made me decide either to sell or to invest, and I decided to invest. And so my journey has always been part of passion, but at the same time, fear of taking too much risk. And if I wanted to take risk, it had to be in an industry that I knew very well. And I remember distributing my own newspaper and in my own minivan at the beginning, or doing my sales directly, or being alert of what has been written um, in my days of the beginnings. So I still like to my nephew, who's the CEO, to have that same philosophy of not being over controlling, but understanding what the your business is in all the sectors of your business. So if you are that type of entrepreneur, it's very difficult to have a huge company with a lot of people, and so I was very hesitant to grow so much in terms of the size of organization. But now with all these AI tools and technologies and outsource type of services, it's very easy to be huge with a small organization.
Yes. Well, did you see our Spanish version? We actually prepared the American Business Podcast in 6 different languages, and Spanish is one of them. And we are utilizing AI technology, and that's amazing. It is because not only it translates the voice, it also does the lip synchronization. So
Yes.
my mouth moves like I'm speaking Spanish as if I'm native. That's how it looks. It's just unbelievable.
So you asked me what's the future of podcasts. You are,
I am in it.
yeah, doing it. You are on it because that's exactly what's happening. Translation and as you're saying, interpretation, translation, and
Mhm.
the opportunity of you being multilingual is something that you never thought about it 2 years ago.
That is true.
Um,
And how
so
difficult it will be. I mean, if there was no such AI technology for me to really translate it and dupe it and then voice it again, voice over in another language, it will be a huge production. Will be.
yeah. Well, my only alert for
Mhm.
those type of innovations is the cultural perspective. So, in business, in your topic, I think you are in the right track of doing it because the translation of business is almost literal. There is not much of a change
Okay.
of business terms and business strategies. But in
Okay.
other, like news, for example, the perspective of
Mm,
telling the news for the English speaker than to the Spanish speaker is different. So, like for
okay.
example, an Spanish speaker speaking immigrant will love to hear a different, not a different, to complement what the English perspective, American perspective of immigration is to the guys who actually cross the borders. And
Okay.
so what they're looking for is, but in business, I think you have a great opportunity because finance, business, and economics are the same term for everybody in the world.
Okay. Yes, the universal terminology really helps us. That's true. That's true. Well, okay. Great. So you have years of professional experience, business experience, entrepreneurial experience. So from your point of view, how would you define leadership? And what are the great leadership qualities a good leader must have?
The If you are a leader of a community or a leader of a business or a leader of both at the same time, um, you need to understand how to take risks, and how to be solid on your principles and on the way you want to express your yeah your products, and to describe your products and to sell your products. What do I mean with that? You have to be tolerant, but at the same time very strict on the type of clients you want. So you don't want to sell your product to a client that will misuse it. You don't want to sell your product to a client who will maybe copy it to compete with you and try to I'm talking about media, correct. So you have to be always on the alert of the
Yes.
licensing opportunities, um, being you know building value on not only the content but on the products. Products are extremely important to especially in this market, where people have to embrace not only the quality of what you sell, but who is the reputation of the origins of your product is extremely important. And I think the more the massive information is out there, the reputation and the brand is extremely important, and it creates more reputation when you are very strict on your philosophy of business and your principles than just being open to to anyone with any just for the fact of generating revenues or just for the fact of generating reach.
Have you had any role models, any mentors who help you shape your career perspective over the years?
Yes, I have let's say a physical mentor and a spiritual mentors, but my physical let's say a real mentor was is still is, because he's now in my board of advisors. Is Marty Baron, who he used to be the executive editor of the Boston Globe in the early 2000s when I started my business. A very famous journalist, and but he's a journalist with an MBA. So
Oh, wow.
so I really
Impressive, yes.
got along with him. We became very good friends. But at the same time, he gave me key advice in my business life. I also follow. I don't know him, but I follow Mike Bloomberg
Mhm.
business life in media and in the media and the finance sector, and I really admire his life as a business person. Then when he became very politician and with all these leaders, it's different of of, of the type of let's say, yeah, I'll call him a mentor even though I don't know him. um, and then my father, who passed, a very successful author and oil executive. I admire his strict ways of building his career. He was never an entrepreneur. He was always a corporate executive. And I also have a young kid who was killed when he was 18. I think he's also my spiritual mentor because he was full of energy, and I always imagine if he was still alive, he would be, a big entrepreneur or leader. So
Mhm.
those are my leaders, my mentors. I would say extremely important. I also, try to talk to a lot of CEOs, business owners. I love to talk to you because of you. You have so much experience as a
Appreciate it.
business person, but also with your guests. And even though I
Thank you.
don't know you, I have hear your podcast, so it's like knowing you
Thank you.
and your style. So I love meeting. Part of my book is a result of a lot of conversations with with uh, uh, corporate leaders in the Spanish speaking world.
That's really really amazing. And well, if there is one key career lesson that you learned the hard way, what would it be that you can share with us?
Yes, not and not being ready for changes. And at the beginning, I was very hesitant to the digital transformation. Um Believe it or not, I mean, right now I would look like a dumb, but at that time there were many of us, and many of us didn't survive because of that toughness and stubbornness of like the blockbusters of the world that had the
Yes.
opportunity to become the Netflix.
Mhm.
That that's a life lessons I live. I think it took me too long to
Mhm.
understand how to build my digital transformation of my business. If I could have done it faster, I would have not suffer what I suffer in the transaction. So always on the alert for potential changes, and in order to predict that, there is nothing better than understand history. History is full of cycles and changes. And if you read contemporary, I mean, history, but written by contemporary authors like Walter Isaacson or yeah, many of the recently written history of the U.S. like Gilles Lepore are ways to understand that this is all a cycle. Even though AI seems to be, the new things, there was always a new thing in different cycles of life. And if you learned about the history, how successful people and leaders tackles those huge changes, like from the railroads to cars, and from horses to the railroads, and then from air TV to cable TV to internet, those huge changes, and from newspapers to digital. If we know the story of how AOL evolved, or involved, and I think give you a lot of lessons to be ready. And I didn't in the past. I was not a big reader of history in the past, and I think that if I would have done it long before, my entrepreneurial life would have been easier.
Yes, those changes are really really fascinating. And now, thanks to technology, it's easier to access information. We just need to make sure that's reliable. But in terms of learning experience and getting access to information, we are very lucky nowadays. We can learn pretty quickly. We can access information very quickly, comparison to past. So it's
Yes,
definitely in
and the
our favor.
nonfiction history is based on facts. So, and that's why I say contemporary historians. The contemporary historians are usually non-biased, unless you read an autobiography, which is usually is biased. But the contemporary historians give you with facts what how leaders, and I'm talking from Leonardo da Vinci to Steve Jobs to Elon Musk. If you read the contemporary historians of this type of leaders, you learn how they tackle changes, real changes, not just luck. And I always encourage youngsters to read history, because and it's also an antidote to anxiety when you are feel anxious because you think you don't know how the future looks in days. go and read history, because this type of same feeling happened in the past to very successful individuals, and the US gives you a lot of tools for that. And as you said, it's easy to access, and it's available, and there are technologies to listen to it or just read it, or even summarize some of them. Mhm.
Absolutely. And to your earlier point, I also remember that internet evolution or revolution, I must say. So I remember how newspapers struggled during the time that internet was coming in, and then they had to adapt the change, and there was the paper version, and people were going to the digital version, how to charge it, whether charge it, like all these struggles. I remember for the media. Even we talk about the radio at that time, whether radio will survive, like the internet will take over and we won't listen to radio at all, which didn't happen actually. The radio's still around and they're not going
It's still
anywhere.
there. Yep.
Yeah, that's really, really amazing. Same thing with the, and to your point, the blockbuster is also quite a use case. I mean,
Oh yeah.
there's this huge blockbuster just melted down like over the years, like piece by piece. Like that was unbelievable.
And they had the opportunity to be
They did.
Netflix. I mean, the Netflix founders sit down with Blockbuster. Yeah, I mean, they offered to Blockbuster to become their streaming arm,
Ah,
and the Blockbusters said, "We don't need you. We can do it ourselves." And look what happened.
wow. That's amazing. That's a fascinating story. That's for sure. That's
Yes.
for sure. Well, sometimes in business, things they don't go in our way. We have challenges. We have also hardship. How to stay motivated and inspired in times of challenges in business?
Well, success is not only money, and if you are in search of success, some people criticize of well, if you are an entrepreneur, you have to be in search of success, and build your own successful goals, what success means to you. And if you have that goal, which is, not, it can change also from time to time, but if you have some sort of precision on what you're looking for, and you fight for it, is not easy, and you're going to fail on many steps towards your goals. But if you have that precision, that you can try to achieve it, um, you will see that is, it give you a lot of strength, and empower yourself to keep going. Because give up, it's very easy. I cannot criticize a lot of people that gives up from products to companies, and so it's the resilience in order to achieve the successful goals. It's extremely important, and again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a dollar figure.
What are your interests outside of work?
Reading is very important. Eating, I love to explore culinary experiences, and travel, because it gives me a lot of experiences, other sides of experience. I'm very bad golfer, but I love golf.
Yes, that sounds fun. Well, and since you are, so I have a question, and this is a spontaneous question. We didn't talk about this earlier. So, how do you see golfing in terms of building business relationships? Do you think it's a good sport to build relationship with other business professionals?
Well, it
Golfing.
doesn't work for me.
Okay.
When I have a golf companion that wants to if he doesn't, he or she doesn't tell me that he wants to talk business during the golf, then it will disappoint them, because I don't like not being advised that they want to have a golf play golf for business reasons. But I do see a lot of people. The only way to be open is not the only way. A good, effective way to talk about business during golfing. I have seen it, but be careful, and not everybody. Or people likes to be advised that you want to play because of the interest of doing business. But to do network, which is a big part of the business here in the U.S., is a great sport. like many other, like many other. But yeah, golf, especially in people of my age and entrepreneurs who have the opportunity to play golf. Those are the good times to talk to them, but advise them in advance.
If you had a chance to go back history, personally or historically, to what time period would you like to go back and why?
I would have loved to leave the 60s, even though I didn't leave the 60s because I was born in 1967. But I love the music from that era. I love the those industrial and business moguls that became from that area. I mean, I love the Walt Disney history, the George Schultz history, the so I would have loved to live those times as an adult business person. Um, yes.
Is there a book, a show, a movie that helped you shape your career perspective over the years?
Yeah, a recent book would be The Invention of Nature, which is the history of Alexander von Humboldt. It's written by Andrea Wolf. That's a book that I would highly recommend. And I also am a big follower of um, uh, Walter Isaacson books. Most of his recent, contemporary biographies are amazing, and I would highly recommend all of them.
What is the best career advice you ever received? And what is the worst career business advice that you ever received?
The best and the worst.
Yes. Which one you want to go first? Best or worst?
Let's go. Let's start with the worst, which is
Okay.
you know media. Don't worry. If you are the largest and newspaper in your city, the power is going to last forever.
And the best one?
The best advice: happy wife, happy life.
Well, I endorse that, sir. That's a great advice. All right, sounds good. Well, what is your career advice for the next generation business professionals?
Technically, I would advise never sign a long-term agreement because right now technology is changing. Don't buy an app and sign an agreement that will you will use that app for exclusively for, and even a platform.
Mhm.
So technology is now changing by days, and so don't hire a specialist in a particular technology because that technology can change, and you will have to fire him or her, and that's a most difficult thing for entrepreneurs to let people go. So that will be my key advice right now. Do not sign long-term licenses, agreements, or
Is there any question that you had expected me to ask you, but I didn't ask you that we can cover in this section
well,
of the episode?
the importance of the book. I think
Okay, yeah. Let's talk about it. Yes, absolutely.
yeah, Life from America: How Latino Conquered the U.S. is it's a fascinating story that will take you from the beginnings of a Mexican family who decided who was very successful in Mexico with a TV network, and a visionary from that family thought correctly that a lot of Mexicans were going to immigrate to the United States, and that immigration will keep growing. So he was short on his forecast because then a lot of other countries started to immigrate to the United States. So that Spanish speaking market in the U.S. became huge and still huge. So the story of the book is how the resilience of that business person, and because he became so powerful and important, the government of the U.S. forced him to sell his shares of the TV station. So he had to sell it to Hallmark Cars, more or less Hallmark Cards, the American company from Missouri. And so imagine a company from Missouri buying the largest Spanish-speaking TV network in the U.S. This is 1986.
Wow.
So that's that part of the story, and then the Mexican family came back in the 90s, together with an American entrepreneurs. So this is a good story for any, let's say, American company or American entrepreneurs who um, understand how important it is to tap into the Spanish speaking market, and also to the Spanish speaking entrepreneurs who needs to understand that in order to be successful in this country, they have to also understand the history and learn how to work with the English speaking world. It sounds you know like a natural decision. But sometimes when we come from different countries, we think that we know more because of our successes or our culture, that we can, be successful over here. The only way to be successful in this country is to learn and embrace, the history of political history, economic history, cultural history. um, so that's all narrated in the book on how it was applied, and it became a multi-billion-dollar company. Univision and Telemundo both are multi-billion-dollar companies, Spanish-speaking TV networks, and one of them, Univision, was sold in 2007 for $13 billion, which is still the largest business transaction related to a Hispanic business, still nowadays. The whole details of that mergers and acquisition transaction is narrated in the book. And of course, if you want to learn the history of junk bonds, this book will tell you with exact details how junk bonds help to finance companies like CNN, and
Mhm.
or help almost to bankrupt because of the high cost. A company like Telemundo, and then why a big corporation like NBC ended up buying Telemundo, and how other private equity investor ended up buying Univision. So the book narrates all the business side of the history, and will make you understand why, and the current crisis, the current immigration crisis, is not it's not a personal objective by a political leader. It has a history behind, and it has cycles. So the anti immigrants or pro immigrants philosophy and groups have always existed in this country since 70s 76, since 250 years ago. This book narrates part of that history, uh, how the cycles of particularly the Hispanic community, because remember, Arizona, Texas, California, Nevada, Florida, and Puerto Rico were Spanish speaking territories even before 1776. So it's not only an immigrant history. It's the country history that I would love everybody to take a chance and read it, because especially now, don't take for granted that the Spanish speaking has always been here, embraced and loved, and the crisis it becomes because it grew too much and too fast. No, it was a political strategy behind it in the 50s, actually, and 60s, and it became the political and economic engine it is right now. This is the second country in the world with more Spanish speakers after Mexico. We already passed Argentina and Spain and
Wow.
Colombia. It's
What is it now? 60 million people, you will say?
61.2 according to the census. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
larger than many countries.
Oh yeah, and the economic size, because
Mm.
it's a different immigrant enclave than any other in the Western world. It's an economic engine and a political engine. The Hispanic votes now represent about 13% of the decisions. There are zip codes where the Hispanic votes decide who is going to lead, which doesn't mean that it has to be a Spanish speaker leader. if a Spanish speaking leader doesn't speak
Mhm.
Spanish but does a good treatment to the Hispanic community, he or she will get the vote. Look what happened in Miami just recently on the mayor's.
Mhm.
So that, and that's not only a political issue. It's an economic issue because behind political power there is an economic power. So a lot of big corporate America understand it, and so I think this book gives you a good example of how the history has made us be where we are right now. Of course, we are used to see very negative news of what's happening because that's the usual psychology of news, especially in these days. But as you know, Kevin, the immigrant community here is very prosperous. If we just put the Hispanic community as a sub country in the U.S., is the size of France. The economy, the GDP, is the size of France. Um, if there is an advice to, or it's not only because it's my book, but reading this book will tell you why is that? Why is that you listen to Spanish everywhere in this country? And there has always been groups against it, but there has always been groups in favor of it. There have always been presidents against it. There have always been presidents in favor of it.
Yes, well, just like you said, the history is a great lesson, great teacher in terms of learning what happened. And to your point, there are cycles, right? So it's a great opportunity to learn about it and being informed. So your book is available on Amazon. Where can I
Yes,
get it?
Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and I hope in a bookstore close to you and any one of your listeners. And if you don't see it in the bookstores, tell them it's very well distributed in Ingram, the wholesale distributor of books in the U.S. And it's available in Spanish and English, so which is a great tool at home because most of us have any relatives or friends
Mhm.
of friends that work with Spanish speaking colleagues. So it's a great book. It is available in Amazon and Barnes and Nobles and all those online stores. Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive, and I'm glad that we share this information with our audience so they can also get the book when they have a chance and they can learn more about it. Thank you for these insights. And we have a little tradition in the American Business Podcast. So we have a question coming from our previous guest, and after I ask you this question, I'll ask you to leave a question with me for our next guest. And the question coming from our previous guest is the biggest decision that you have been delaying and how you are planning to address it.
Well, I would love. I have always have this dream and project of spending 3 months in Japan.
Interesting. Okay. Wow. All right. Okay. That sounds
Absolutely.
doable, but it's gonna be fun, I'm sure. What part of Japan you were even thinking?
Well, I would love to spend 3 months traveling
Traveling. Okay.
around, but I love Kyoto, Tokyo, of course, Hiroshima, and um, yeah, I like the beach around Tokyo. I
Yes.
would love to
Yes.
visit some other islands
Yeah. I
around there.
heard
I
that's
love.
a beautiful country. I never been there, but I have friends. They go to Japan from time to time, and to your point, they go to different parts of it to see.
Yes.
So
So that's one of my life project that I would love to do before I die.
okay. Well, that sounds great. What is the question that you like to leave here with me for the next guest?
For you or for the next guest?
So you're gonna leave the question with me. I'm gonna ask the question to
Oh,
the
okay.
guest in the next episode.
Okay. Which software application you uh, think that need to renew soon?
Okay. All right. I'll make sure to ask. All right. So in the American Business Podcast, in this 128th episode, is there any question that you would like to ask me?
Yes. Where do you see your podcast? I mean, already told me that you're going to be multilingual soon.
Yes.
Uh, but let's say 3 years from now.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's actually a great question. So Actually, these Spanish, German, French, Portuguese, Hindi, and Turkish versions are available right now in YouTube. We have podcasts already. We created it. So we'll keep investing in it. We'll increase the number of videos and push the international expansion. That's one of our goals in next 3 years. And our goal is to have more subscribers, of course, in YouTube and other channels, multi-platform as well, to have more views. So where we like to be going is, so we are the voice of American business. That is our positioning. We believe in it, and there is no other podcast doing what we are doing. Live first, we are live right now. For example, not everyone. There is no other business podcast doing what we are doing. And in terms of having the guests and asking them questions and trying to learn from their professional insights is what makes our business podcast unique. So this is just like a school. So we learn from you. You are the teacher right now. We ask you the questions. You share your decades of experience with us. That is amazing. And that's what we are trying to create, this educational environment. So for 3 years, we're going to push these. We're going to expand these, more guests, more insights, more evolution. Things are changing, to your point earlier. So this is the place that we talk about business, American business, the history of the American business, the presence, the trends, the technology, and other business subjects. So there are many different parts of business. The technology is one of them: finance, marketing, sales, accounting, procurement, strategy, leadership. So there are many different things that we need to learn and update ourselves. So we'll push this mission. We'll deliver it, and we like to be a media channel in our own right. That's where we are trying to go. So our goal is to basically make it more tangible after 3 years.
I wish you all the luck.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thank you for your support. Even you being here is a great support. So I truly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Great. Well, for those who like to be in touch with you and learn about your company, your organization, and be in touch with you, what is the best way that they can be in touch with you?
Yes, I will leave you 3 ways. The first one is to visit my media company, tiempocompany.com. The second one would be my book link, which is livefromamericabook.com. And the third one to contact me directly is any of those 2 sites have links to the founder, and also my Substack account, which is Javier J. Marin.
Javier, thank you so much for being with us in your busy schedule. Thank you for sharing your professional wisdom with us and your professional insights. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you, Kevin. It was very productive and fun.
Thank you very much. I wish you a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. And to our audience and listeners, we'll be right back after a short break. Support for the American Business Podcast comes from Reddit. Do you know the biggest challenge nowadays for American small businesses? That is visibility. That's why we partner with Reddit for Business. Reddit has more than 400 million weekly visitors. Furthermore, Reddit is reliable. Reddit is the #1 source for real reviews on products, services, and brands. There is a promotion going on. When you spend $500, you'll get $500 in ad credit from Reddit. True story. I am a Reddit user. Anytime I need feedback or review for a product or service, I go to Reddit. I get the real answers, real feedback from real people, from Reddit communities. Scan this QR code and sign up for Reddit advertising for your business. Get the visibility for your company, your products, and services. Scan the QR code and sign up today. Thank you for your support. Would you like to start your business podcast? We are here to help. My name is Kevin Deveci. I am the founder and host of the American Business Podcast, the voice of American business. When we started the American Business Podcast on February 28, 2025, we had only one mission in mind: to promote, support, and uplift American businesses, nonprofits, manufacturers, and the American business community. Within our first 6 months, we managed to pass 100,000 YouTube subscribers, and we received YouTube Silver Award. This is an important award. It shows our dedication to American business and to the American Business Podcast viewers, subscribers, and American Business Podcast community. Now you can have your own branded company podcast within the American Business Podcast network. You can promote your company, your products, your services, and you'll have instant visibility in front of thousands of the American Business Podcast viewers, subscribers, and followers. You can promote your company, your products and services. You can educate and inspire businesses and individuals. More importantly, you can tell your story, your brand story. How did you get started? What makes you different? And how you are helping your customers and communities. As you know, in the American Business Podcast, I've been talking to more than 100 American businesses. Each business has a story that is inspiring and motivational. I know your business also has a great story which is motivational and inspiring. It is time for you to have your business podcast within the American Business Podcast network. We help you start your business podcast and we help you grow your business. This is a great opportunity for you to be visible in the marketplace in front of thousands of the American Business Podcast viewers and subscribers. And this is a great opportunity for us to fulfill our mission to promote, support, and uplift American businesses. Please send us an email and let's get the conversation started. It is paas@americanpodcast.tv. Business podcasting as a service, powered by the American Business Podcast, the voice of American business. The American Business Podcast is America's fastest growing educational business podcast network in this age of AI. My name is Kevin Deveci. I'm the founder and host of the American Business Podcast, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you, working with you, and help you grow your business with your new business podcast. Thank you very much. Support for the show comes from Yelp. You know, I've been talking to more than 100 business owners in the American Business Podcast. Do you know the biggest problem for small businesses nowadays? It is visibility. That is why you should sign up and list your business on Yelp for Business. I have the QR code on the screen, and when you scan the QR code, the form will show up on your screen and you can sign up on the registration form. It comes with free trial with no obligation. Make it easy for your customers to find you. Do you know there are more than 70 million customers visiting Yelp website looking for services from businesses just like yours? Restaurants, home services, professional services, and many other businesses are being searched on Yelp on daily basis. That's a great opportunity. If you list your business on Yelp, you'll be findable, searchable, and you'll be visible. When you are visible, when your customers are able to find you, you're in business. You can get opportunities, you can get leads, you can build a healthy and profitable pipeline. Consider Yelp for Business. Scan the QR code, sign up, and start your free trial. It comes with free trial. Very comfortable, no obligation. List your business and start getting the results and enjoy the benefits of Yelp Business. Thank you for your support. Hello, I'm Kevin Deveci, founder and host of the American Business Podcast, the voice of American business. The American Business Podcast is America's fastest growing educational business podcast network in this age of AI. As you know, a couple of weeks ago, we started podcasting as a service, PAS, powered by the American Business Podcast. As part of this service, we help businesses set up their business podcast within the American Business Podcast network, and we help them broadcast with the help and support of team ABP, the American Business Podcast. As part of this service, I'm happy to announce that we have a new business podcast called Anywhere Apps Podcast Channel. As you may remember, we have been promoting Anywhere Apps in the American Business Podcast, and Anywhere Apps are coming from Kerr Consulting, now Cherry Bekaert. Fundamentally, Anywhere Apps are designed for digitization and automation of business processes. In this scope, Anywhere Apps are offering a long list of modern software systems, business software systems, such as CRM Anywhere, Nonprofit Management Anywhere, Asset Management Anywhere, Quality Assurance Anywhere, Advanced Planning and Scheduling Anywhere, and many more. In each Anywhere Apps podcast segment, we'll talk about technology for business, as well as practical use of AI and business software systems. And we are planning to share educational content to help small and mid-sized American companies to adapt change in terms of technology. I'm very excited for this podcast, and I just wanted to share this news with you. And I'm looking forward to having you in the coming The American Business Podcast episodes and Anywhere Apps podcast, which will be live very, very soon. Thank you very much for your support and for your interest, and I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. Thank you for being with me in the American Business Podcast. If you'd like to be a guest in the American Business Podcast, please send us an email, guestbooking@americanpodcast.tv. If you'd like to sponsor, advertise your products and services, you can also send us an email, growyourbusiness@americanpodcast.tv. I also like to invite you to our website, americanpodcast.tv. You can see coming schedule, you can see the updates about the American Business Podcast and get the latest on our official website. And we are introducing the American Business Podcast on other social media channels as well. If you are on Facebook, please feel free to go to our Facebook page. There is a QR code here. You can scan it and it'll take you to our Facebook page, and you can scan and subscribe and support us on Facebook as well. We'll truly appreciate it. Thank you for being with us in the American Business Podcast. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the coming The American Business Podcast episodes. The American Business Podcast is the voice of American business. Looking forward to seeing you. Thank you very much.